Hi, this is Peter Propp. I run the marketing leadership practice at Shore Communications. And welcome back to 10 Minute Strategy. This is part 2 of my interview with Ted Rubin. He's a social media strategist and brand evangelist. He sits on a lot of boards. He tweets a lot. He's got a ton of Twitter followers. Let's talk, Ted, about tools because, as we discussed earlier, you're a big TweetDeck fan. I've used TweetDeck. I like it most of the time. Tell me how you feel about TweetDeck.
Well, I'm addicted to TweetDeck. I love TweetDeck. Now, I'm not necessarily the best example because I am the kind of guy that loves things and likes to stick with them. I'm not a big early adopter. Mainly because, again, I find something I like, whether it's a restaurant, a car, I like to stay with things that are working. But
Right.
what I love about TweetDeck is just the view of, I manage a lot of Twitter accounts.
Right.
So it makes it very, very easy for me in one quick snapshot to view a lot of what's going on, to view my mentions, to view my DMs, to watch hashtags, to watch other accounts that I'm involved with, and to tweet out, from multiple accounts all at once. So like if there are different accounts I'm managing and the same tweet is appropriate, I can send it out from many different venues. So I love TweetDeck. My problems with TweetDeck is that it's apparently, and I am totally not a technologist, so totally clueless to me, but I'm told that the Adobe Air that it's built on is an issue for them. And it stalls on me a lot now. It's the circle starts going and I can't do things, and that gets me crazy.
Yeah. What about from a mobile device? You use TweetDeck on the mobile also?
No, I don't because, okay, don't look at me like cross-eyed, but I am a BlackBerry guy. I know that we're few and far between these days. I actually just got an iPad 2 as a gift, so I'm going to have to, and I'm clueless, because I'm such not a Mac guy. And people say to me, look, it's just like your iPhone. Just do this. And I'm like, I don't have an iPhone. I use Uber Twitter. Which I believe they might have renamed it into Uber's. Oh, it's Uber Social now. Twitter had an issue with them using the name Uber Twitter, and they shut them down. They stopped letting them use their API for about a week until they changed their name and some of their branding. I'm very fond of Uber Social from my BlackBerry. It works great, but again, it's a handheld. You can't do as much from it. You have to switch back and forth between accounts. So from my BlackBerry, I mostly tweet just from my own personal account.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your experience. You are running social and marketing overall, is that right, for a cosmetics firm?
Yes, I was the chief marketing officer of Elf Cosmetics, eyeslipsface.com from 2008 through 2010.
Okay.
Through the beginning of 2010.
And in that process, that became a real success story in the Twitter world.
Well, it became a real success story in the Twitter world and in the social space to begin with. I was there in 2008 when social was really first starting to scale, or I should say the platforms.
Right.
Facebook and Twitter were really first starting to scale. YouTube, which has been around for a lot longer, and people tend to forget about it. They talk about social. When they talk about the social platforms, they tend to talk about Twitter and Facebook, but YouTube is probably one of the most powerful mediums.
Absolutely.
It's a lot harder to wrap your hands around and get value out of. So it works for some brands, it doesn't work for others, and that has to do with mostly, I believe, in the product offerings and the things you're doing and your price points and the market you're going after. And for Elf, it was a huge benefit because people loved our product. Our product sold at $1, $3, and $5. We were known as the makeup brand that sold for $1 a piece. Originally, that's all there were dollar products, and women just adore our products. So, what I discovered in 2008 when I really put the stops on all the limited activities they were doing, and just to back up a second to understand, Elf is a company that has never had a traditional marketing budget. Zero. I mean, no money to spend. We don't buy ads. We don't buy anything. Everything is earned media and then social and word of mouth. And when I joined them, they'd kind of, hit a plateau. They were doing around 15 million in sales. They were using up, doing a lot in the word of mouth world. But we realized a great opportunity there to take advantage of social. And I also discovered that there were YouTube videos being made all the time about Elf. Women love the product. It's aspirational. It's makeup. We were talking about women in our last segment.
Right.
And what's great about women in makeup is they become little girls. I don't care if they're 20 or they're 70. I don't care if they're wealthy or not. You send a woman a box of free cosmetics, even dollar cosmetics, and invariably the email you get the next day from them was, oh my God, I was up all night playing with my new stuff. women play with makeup. So they love to videotape that. They like to see the looks. They like to take photos. So what we started doing is really leveraging user-generated content at e.l.f. And I built the first site that aggregated user-generated content for a major brand in this country, and we called it Ask e.l.f. We had it in a different place than e.l.f. because we wanted to see what really happened with it. And then what we did was I found that on YouTube, there were videos being made about e.l.f. Now, YouTube is the second most used search engine in the world, right. But it wasn't built as a search engine, so it's incredibly inefficient. So if you search something, you'll find that you search e.l.f. Cosmetics, you'll find a bunch of videos, and you'll think that's all there is. But as you click on each one, it's like a spider web. Right. You find new ones and you find new ones. So when I joined them, they thought there were about 10 videos about them, and there were a few hundred. And what I discovered is when I started letting the vast community of women know that if they simply posted a video on YouTube, we would suck it up, spidering the web, into our environment and show it to all the women that visit our site. There was not a day that went by while I was there that a new video wasn't produced on YouTube about e.l.f. And then we took that and we leveraged that into the whole Twitter, Facebook side of things. Right. And I built a very large Twitter presence for myself. I love Twitter. It's my platform of choice because basically I'm a frustrated author. I always have been. I have names of books squirreled away in different places. I own URLs. I keep meaning to write them, but I'm also not a writer. I'm an idea guy. I spurt out things. I sit in meetings. I say, somebody better be taking notes because I'm not going to remember later. I'm not going to remember in 10 minutes what I talked about 10 minutes ago. If you give me a quick note about it, I'll definitely be able to go off and figure out where I was going and what I meant. Right. But the idea is, so what I love about Twitter is I can be reading things or talking to Peter Prop, and the minute I get off of this interview, I could think of something and I can tweet it out. And also, I save a lot of those things. Mm-hmm. So I build content there. Now, I have a blog now, and I do blog, but if you follow me, you'll see that most of my blog posts are at most 2 to 3 paragraphs, and I struggle to do that because it's just not the way I'm at. So what I do on Twitter is I communicate with people. I build relationships. There's not a person that I don't respond to. You ask people in the Twitter sphere about Ted Rubin, and what they'll tell you, my personal brand is, without me having this up on my site, is responsiveness. Mm-hmm. You reach out to Ted, Ted reaches out back to you. Whether it's Twitter, Facebook, anywhere. You communicate with me, I'm going to communicate back. If I don't, it means I missed it, it slipped through the cracks, I was away. Reach out again, because it's my intention to do that. And I got to tell you, the value it's created for me has been exponential. And the value it creates for a brand at e.l.f., we built the reputation. We built 60,000 followers. We built the reputation that when you had a problem, when you had a question, when you had an idea, when you just wanted to talk makeup, there was somebody at e.l.f. to communicate with you. Right. And that's what we did. Great.
So, Ted, let's talk just about your personal brand. You started out with e.l.f. How many followers did you have at that point in 2008?
Well, I started out with 0.
Okay, you started out with 0. And right. By the end of 2009, where were you?
That's hard to really say because I don't keep track of those numbers. But I'd have to say at the end of 2009, I was approaching 20,000.
Okay. And so what was your tactic? Were you just finding people that were interesting? I mean, that's what I do. I just find people that I think are interesting, and I start following them, and I retweet what they say occasionally, and stuff like that. Is that
similar to that? What I do is I look for people that have a strong following in a demographic that's important to me. Mm-hmm. So if I want to be speaking to moms, I'm going to follow people that have strong mom followings, and I'm going to follow all the people following them. Mm-hmm. If I want to start reaching out to any community, regardless of what it is, the dad's community, the social marketing community, I go to Chris Brogan. I follow people that are following Chris. I follow people that are following Jeff Pulver. I look for people that have similar interests and are following the kind of people that I want them to look to me for that information. Right. But that's just the start. In order to make that worthwhile, you can follow as many people as you want. You can build a big following. But if you don't provide value, then those people are not going to pay attention to you. They might still be following you, but they're not going to interact and engage with you and hear what you're saying. So by value can be many things. Value can be that you put out original thought, and they think that original thought is important. Value can be that you tweet links of great articles. Now, what I say to people is never tweet out an article you haven't read yourself. Right. I don't do that. And it's one of the things that when people tweet me and say, "Oh, can you tweet this for me?" I have to remind them, I'll do it, but I got to read it first because I might do a favor for Peter Prop at some point as we build a relationship, and I know what your brand is, and I see what a smart guy you are.
Sure.
And Peter asked me to, Ted, listen, believe me, this is a great article. It's about something important. Can you tweet it for me? I might do that for you because there's a lot of quid pro quo.
Sure.
And pay it forward kind of thing. But mostly, I will read those articles. So you can pass along articles that are of value. A lot of people are known for that. You can communicate. You can engage. You can answer people's questions. Hey, ask me anything you want about social media. Ask me about being a divorced dad. Ask me about being a dad to 2 teenage daughters. No, please, actually, don't ask me about that.
I got one, so I'm half in the pain you're in. Well, this is great, Ted. We've run out of time again. I would love to have you back on the podcast in the future. I think we've only scratched the surface of the stuff that you and I could talk about together. So will you come back later on?
I'd love to do that. I'm involved with a lot of companies, but some things are changing in my world, really in a good direction. I might have a few announcements to make, so I'd love to talk to you again in a few weeks.
That'd be fantastic. Ted Rubin, thank you so much for being with us in 10 Minute Strategy. I'm Peter Prop. Thanks a lot.